Well, we're back for another show. Today, I've got Charlie Hildbold with me, indoor football, minor league sports, experienced general manager, team president. It'll be fun to hear some of these great stories. How's it going,
We could
Charlie?
definitely write books. We could definitely write books. So.
How many books do you think you could write?
There'd be one on just the personalities that you run into, some of the crazy owners and all that kind of. Then there'd be one on just like the nature of minor league sports to begin with. You know, I can honestly. Do you remember the movie Semi Pro with Will Ferrell?
Oh yeah, I named one of my teams after the Tropics.
I have lived that movie. I mean, I distinctly remember. You know, the whole part of that movie where he's like, we don't have corn dogs if we get 125 points. Like that is the kind of promotion I have been a part of teams that would have that promotion, but not have the corn dogs to back it up. Done it. I've been there. Like I related so much to that movie because it was such a,
it's so
they
true.
Did their research. They did their research. Like,
it's 100% true.
To generate ticket sales, you would 100% have someone wrestle a bear at halftime. Like
absolutely. It is my favorite movie, and I make everyone watch it. Like yes. I would make our guys watch it on bus trips. And in 2015, I started a soccer team in Florida, and I called them the Tropics because they were the Flint Tropics in the movie. And our mascot was a black bear named Dewey.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I'd say probably 50-70% of the people had no clue what the hell it was referencing, but everyone who knows me knew exactly what it was, and that's what made it so
excellent.
Cool.
That is excellent.
So give us a rundown. How'd you get into sports?
I realized a long time ago that I'm not good enough to play any sport at all, despite the fact that I loved it. And when I was in school, I started as a computer science major, and after a semester, I was like, I don't know how to do this, and this is miserable. And so I switched to marketing and didn't know what I was talking about, but at least was able to generate something from there and saw that there were jobs in sports. And I thought, well, maybe I can do something like that. But there was nothing in my school as far as a sports program, like only one graduate or two graduates had ever gone on to work in sports. There was no alumni basis for it, nothing. And I ended up kind of forging my own path. And the guy I graduated with actually ended up in sports as well. He's the president of Sporting KC now. Like he's moved all the way up to president of an MLS team. He and I graduated together, but I started and was looking for something to do. And one of my best stories, my senior year, I sent a letter with my resume to every single major professional sports team in the 4 leagues. Asking for a job in their marketing department, not knowing at all what that meant. Like, I have a major in marketing. I should get a job in marketing. I got a rejection letter back from every single one of them to my college dorm room, and then I taped them all up on my wall. And I kind of used it as motivation to get something down the road. And I heard from someone, got some good advice. If you want to get into sports, get into sales. I go, I don't know how to sell anything. I've worked at Subway and a grocery store my whole life, So I went to a staffing agency and said, I need a job that's kind of in sales. I need to learn how to sell. And they said, okay, we have a job for you. It's working for a charity trying to generate revenue for them, but they're tough. If you don't generate revenue for 3 straight days, you're fired. I'm like, whoa. Okay, it's the Muscular Dystrophy Association. We have to get people to come out and like be locked up for money and everything, And I got there and the guy says, we're going to get rid of you in 3 days if you don't produce. And I'm like, hey,
no pressure.
Like it was scary. I made it 3 months. And by the end of the 3 months, I saw a job posted with the Pirates here in Pittsburgh for outbound sales representative. It was an entry-level part-time ticket sales. We're hiring because the All-Star game is next year. So this is winter 2005. And I got the interview and I was too nervous to drive to the interview because I grew up in Pittsburgh. My Pirates were my favorite team. And I was like, I had my dad drive me down to the interview. I was like, I can't even concentrate on the road. Please drive me to the interview. And so he grew up as a Pirate fan. So he's like, can I come in? I'm like, yeah, you can come into the interview, not in the interview room, but you can sit in the lobby. And so he was just fascinated. Like, oh my gosh, we're in the front office of this. I can't believe this. So interview goes great. I get the job. I go back and quit the headhunter, that sales job. And I got a job starting with the Pirates and learned how to sell tickets and generate revenue for the All-Star game, because at that point they were the worst team in baseball. So it was a really tough sell. So luckily we had the All-Star game to try and boost our sales. And at the end of the year, they said, well, we're not hosting the All-Star game next year. So you can either come back as a part-time salesperson or you can move on. And so I chose to move on. And I kind of worked my way up from there. Went to account executive with a hockey team, and then box office manager with a baseball team. And then I got hired into the wonderful world of indoor football. And was put in charge of
It's a drug, man.
corporate fulfillment and in-game operations and marketing, which I'd never done before. And
What team? What was your first team?
that would be the first indoor football. That'd be the Odessa Roughnecks.
That was Tommy, the owner of that then?
That was Tommy, the owner of that team. Yep. And so I kind of learned everything I needed to do from him. But I moved on my own.
One of the best salespeople I've ever met.
But yeah, amazing salesperson. Also has great big picture ideas of what
yeah.
to do. And
Some crazy marketing
I learned how
stuff.
to do a lot of stuff there. Like I was there for a year and a half. He sold the team after 10 months that I was there. But I learned a ton in that first 10 months. And yeah, I mean, just.
So after the Roughnecks, where'd you end up going?
Tommy became the commissioner of the Indoor Football League. When they created that, moved to Richmond, Virginia, and then a guy in Richmond was looking to put a team in, and so he asked who he would hire, and so Tommy said I would hire Charlie to be the GM. So they called me, interviewed me, offered me the job, and I thankfully moved out of West Texas, was not happy there, to Richmond, Virginia, which was close to home, which was great. Yeah. And started the Richmond Revolution. That was 2009.
So what's it like, starting, were you there from day one on that startup? Yeah. So what's the first thing that you had to do? Did the ownership have any clue what they were doing?
No, absolutely no idea. So
I'll tell you what, that's almost better.
It was awesome.
I
could totally come up with everything I wanted to, but the ownership, they were trying to create, the parent company was a company called Sports Quest, and they were trying to create like an Olympic training center for the East Coast to rival Colorado Springs. They were going to have a velodrome and a G League basketball team and indoor football and volleyball and soccer, and they were going to do a whole bunch of Olympic training. Speed skating was a big thing. That's the whole reason it started, because the owner loved speed skating and he wanted to have speed skaters come and train in Richmond. But they wanted to have the professional teams to come in and generate some revenue to help fund all the rest of the sports. And so the indoor football was the first thing they did. And I mean, my first day, I just kind of got doing what I know how to do, we wanted to generate some buzz about it. And we called a press conference that we were starting a team, but we didn't do anything else. If anyone knows how to do a team, you do not announce your name, your logo, your coach, your uniform, all in the first week. Don't do that. So we slow played it. We just announced the team was coming, and we were going to have a name the team contest. And we partnered with a couple of sponsors, and then I think we had 7,000 names generated.
Damn.
And I had it narrowed down to 5 that I liked, and I went from there. I went with the one that was most marketable out of those 5. And Richmond Revolution was definitely it. We were able to play off of the whole patriotic theme, and so we came up with the name, and I got the logo made, and we hired a head coach, and so we decided to double up on a couple of those. We announced the name, the logo, and the coach on the same day, but we did it at the church in Richmond where Patrick Henry gave the "Give Me Liberty, Give Me Death" speech. So I stood at that pulpit where he stood, and I had our logo in a big banner all rolled up, and we announced the coach, and then we unveiled that thing with our slogan for the year, which was "Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of Football." And it was perfect. Like, it was just everything. We were the top story, and we were competing against the Richmond Raiders at the time, who had launched like a week after us, playing in Richmond. And we killed the news cycle. I mean, it was amazing. Then we just started signing Virginia Tech players and UVA players, and we generated so much. And then when we signed the Virginia Tech quarterback, Brian Randall.
Done.
Like, we sold out. Like, it was like everyone wanted to see him. The only better person we could have gotten would have been Michael Vick. Like, it wouldn't have been like, he was the second most popular quarterback they've had in 20 years. And
Who
so
was your
signed
head
him,
coach?
Steve Criswell.
Okay, Steve was
He was with the
special
Bandits
teams
and,
maybe with us for the Bandits
yes,
or something.
He and I we connected so well at the beginning. Like, I had a 2-hour dinner with him talking about the job, and I'd interviewed a dozen more qualified people, but he and I just sat there talking. And I was like, you know what? Like, he doesn't want to be the kind of head coach that like oversees everything. He wants to hire coaches to do it, and he just wants to manage everything. And he's like, I can make you one thing promise: there will be no issues with your team this year. Like, I will keep everyone in line, and this will be the most polished professional team you've ever seen. And I'm like, I'm okay with that, you know. He and I just, I don't know, I just felt really good about him, and it was a perfect hire. He was absolutely the perfect first-time head coach, and we went 13-1 that year, had the best record in the league, franchise of the year, coach of the year, MVP,
Nice.
rookie of the year. Like, we cleaned up, and then we lost in the first round of the playoffs, you know.
There's some good local talent too, and you have such good colleges around. I remember when Richmond was in the league that I was president of before that, and they were stacked. I mean, they had some Virginia Tech guys. They had
Newport News and
oh
the
yeah,
Hampton area, like, I mean, unbelievable talent. I mean, today it's probably still the most people in the NFL are come from that little 757 area code.
that's crazy. What did so how many seasons were you with the team?
2 years.
Okay.
As I mentioned, we had a parent company. The parent company went bankrupt after the second year and decided to fold up shop. Despite the fact that we were profitable, we had 105% capacity sold out the first year.
Awesome.
We made a ton of money, but they used it to fund volleyball and soccer and 8 outdoor turf fields, and the money just dried up because honestly, who wants an Olympic training center in Richmond, Virginia? You know, like, Colorado Springs is awesome. Richmond, there's still
put it in Florida at least or something. I mean.
But luckily, you know, the league office was there in the city, and so I got laid off. And the next day, I started the league office, and I was in charge of team operations. So I oversaw. I was there as a help and assistance to 26 teams across the league. If they had any questions or anything about the operations manual, which I wrote, you know, like I knew the operation manual through and through for the IFL, and it was a good job because I was able to really kind of help teams be profitable, you know. And
how was it working with the teams? I mean, were they receptive? I mean, I know that
some teams, yes, some teams, no, as you know, but the most valuable thing I did a survey of every team, and it was 30 questions or so, but it was largely like, what kind of staff do you have? What are your numbers? All that, you know, just anything we wanted to know about the company. And we kept it all anonymous, but I was able to compile it all into some data that we presented to the league in the league meetings. And it was something that I think is very applicable to the sports business in general. And the biggest things we found out, that teams that were successful, that were generating the revenue they needed to, they were generating it by having the right number of salespeople, and they were handling their sales in the right order. And I can further explain that, but like, the teams that struggled had one salesperson or no full-time salespeople, you know? And so if you could hire someone for $30,000 to generate $200,000, why wouldn't you? But there were teams that didn't, and they were near the bottom of the list. The teams that were the top had 4 or 5 ticket salespeople, and they were killing it every year, you know? Yep. And when I pointed that out, people were just like, some people were like, that's great, you know, I'm gonna go hire someone. And the people, I'll still remember 1 or 2 teams like, no, we're doing all right. We don't need to hire anyone else. I'm like, okay. I mean,
what do you think?
Presenting information.
Why do you think the mentality is that? I've struggled with, when I was on the league side, to get teams to invest properly in
because there's
revenue
no
generation.
owners. Well, I don't say that. There are very, very few owners in this sport, in this business, that started in this business.
Right.
So they were successful doing something else, and then they bought into a team, and they think they can run it the same way, and it's not the same. You know, it's just the cyclical business of sports is not mirrored in any other industry that I can see. And that's where the other thing plays into it. The people that were successful, they used the second half of their season to renew everyone when everyone was still excited about their product. The teams that were successful, including our team that we would run, like we handled our renewals. So we were finishing our last game as close to 100% renewed as possible. First off, it gave us some good revenue to go to enter into the next
off season
year when you need the money coming in. But on top of that, it allowed us to spend the whole off season generating new business. And growing, you know, and we wouldn't take vacations the first week after the season was done because that's when our season's starting. But like our vacations would come a month later, you know, and it was, we know you're tired from the season, but we need to generate money now. And
got to go strong into that off season.
The best teams in the league, the teams that are, there are some that are still in operation today, 10 years later, because they followed that pattern. And the ones that didn't, they were gone within a year. It's so simple, but no one listens.
No, well, and two, a lot of these people that come in, they're Billy Badass, you know, in their other business. They're the big guy in town. And all they're focused on is on the field. And on the field's important, but at that level, unfortunately, that's not enough. I've seen teams spend everything to win only to shut down after the season, you know, or not have that sustained growth because all their money's in the coaching, the players, and not in the front office where it needs to be.
That's the big myth of minor league sports as compared to major league sports. You do not need to win to be successul.
No.
The best years I've had, the best money years we've had, we've been the worst team in the league. And the year I've won a championship, like that was the hardest year ever. Like struggling. It was my next to last year. It's so difficult to win a championship, you know, like it's so expensive and so difficult. And it's so just, you know, but when you go 3-11, like you just sell the experience. Yeah, we suck on the field, but you know what? It's fun and it works. You know? But
and I mean, if you're winning, I mean, it will add to the excitement. But again, I always, you know, prided myself and our clubs on like, hey, listen, people just had a great time. Half of them don't even know who won. You know, they
don't know the score, don't know who they played,
exactly.
Don't know anything except that they had fun. 100%.
Yeah. And you know, to me as a business person, anyone who knows me knows how competitive I am. I'm out of control when it comes to winning and losing, but if I don't want to lose money, I could tell you that. I definitely I definitely want to make the business model work. I want to win, but I also don't want to lose money. And that's my rationale. But I see these guys every year, man, especially the new ones. They come in. It's all about the players, coaches, spend the money here, there.
I want my logo to look like this. I want my uniform to look like this. I want the name to be this. And I want to do this. And it's like, we're your salespeople.
Yeah.
You know, like, are you doing data collection for the people that submitted names? Why are you not doing a name the team contest? Even if you already have your name picked out, which, spoiler alert, most teams already have their name picked out even when they do the name of the team, but gives you a list of 1,000 people to call to sell tickets to. You know, like it gives you instant leads for free. It's a dumb thing not to do it. Even
in our current climate, I think, and I know that you can still sell and bring in revenue, even with all this uncertainty. And I can tell you that because in Fredericksburg with the baseball team, our small staff sold over $300,000 from basically April to June. April, May, and June, 3 months. We sold 300,000.
Something tells me sports aren't going away.
Yeah.
And they're going to come back in 2021. And I feel like most teams should be looking at this as a really great opportunity to
get out ahead.
blow out their next season. You know, like
Yeah.
people are going to want the sports back, and like you should be trying to sell them now. You know, you don't have to collect as much money now.
No,
I mean, any money you collect now would be great, but like get
it
them
on the
locked
books.
in. You
Yeah.
know, like split up the payments with a contingency that says, hey, you know what? If we don't have a season, then this is a credit for later or whatever. But
Yeah.
I mean,
That's what we
there's
did.
no reason that a team can't be. Yeah, as I'm sitting here as a free agent right now, like I'm chomping at the bit to like go out and do this. Like either for one team or a whole bunch of teams, like give me the opportunity to come out here and just set you up for next year. You know, it's so easy.
I am pounding some of these teams because I'm like, look, not everyone's going to buy right now because of COVID, but you're building a pipeline, you're building relationships, and there's a cycle to sell. And, you know, unless you're selling small stuff, they typically aren't, you know, pick up the phone, I just sold a $50,000 deal. I mean, there's a process. So you need to build the pipeline, in my opinion, for a good, 2 to 3 months. And what's going to happen is these teams, I had a team tell me the other day, well, it was in arena football. Well, we're probably going to wait until January to bring people in. Well, at January, you got maybe what?
Season starts in 2 months.
Right. And so you don't have the pipeline. You're not in the community. Like all these factors come in, and then
schools coming back either remotely or in person. Teams should be attacking the schools in a month. I mean,
yeah, you got to build those relationships.
Kids. I mean, it's there's so many opportunities.
It's very frustrating, and like you being out a free agent right now, it's like you could be a huge asset for a club, whether that's on a contract basis or as an employee. And I think you'd be open to both opportunities.
100%.
So, and likewise with myself, I'm more interested in the contract side than the employment side, but teams need help and they can't afford to sit on the sidelines right now. I mean, now is the time they need to be out. They need to be respectful of the situation. And that's partly having experienced people or teaching your people how to approach and figure out if people can be pushed or if people are ready to close, or if, hey, let's follow up in 2 months. Let's follow up. We're here. So whenever you're ready, we're ready. And you could build a great pipeline, get deals on the books.
And you can do it from home.
Zoom is the best.
There's no reason that staffs can't be working from home. There's no reason that every staff can't be using their cell phones to, I know that my phone can connect to an office phone and show as that office number dialing out. So it looks like I'm at the office. It's not hard to do. There's no reason that people can't be doing that and setting up interviews and
Zoom meetings are like normal now. I mean, I've done a Zoom meeting at least every day, Monday through Friday, since probably April.
Yep.
It's easy now. Before that, I never hosted one ever. I've been on them, but I've never hosted.
I have not sold through it, but I imagine this would be just as easy as my sales process is face-to-face.
Yeah.
There'd be no reason that I couldn't set up an appointment with a C-level person and say, hey, I need a half hour to talk about the team and who you are. Like, let's talk. And they sit there and I can take notes.
I think it's going to be a lot more popular because if you think about it, I can now maximize my time. If I'm the CEO,
no driving.
I don't have to go to the stadium. I don't have to go to the arena. You don't have to come to me. Wham, bam, we're done, and be more efficient.
I think it increases sales. It's going to increase sales or it's going to increase the ability to make sales, whether or not you're good enough at it. But
yeah,
how much time do you spend? Let's say you have 5 appointments in a week to go sell.
A lot of driving.
5 hours in the car.
Yeah.
How many calls can you make in 5 hours or something? You could probably get, 2 or 3 extra appointments out of that. And if you're closing 30% of them, then, doing Zoom calls is making you an extra, whatever, 5,000-10,000 a week.
When you were done with the league, tell me about the Allen Wranglers. Was that Tommy again? Tommy was your guy?
I was tied to Tommy for quite a while.
We got to get Tommy to start another team.
I think he's really happy doing what he's doing right now. He seems really good. But Tommy was the commissioner. I was in charge of team services, and the owner of the Wranglers I mean, you know this business. In January, you're supposed to be at 90% of your revenue for the season, you know, so that you can live off of the season. Well, he was at like 30%, whatever it is. I don't know the number he was at. Let's say his budget was $500,000. He was at 100,000 when he should have been at 400,000. New owner, first time season, you know, second season there in Allen, first season with him as the owner. And he's like, how can I generate some interest? How can I bring in some money? I got it. I'm going to sign Terrell Owens. And we're going to sell out every game. And we're going to make all of our money by selling out every game. And so Tommy, in his position as the commissioner, goes down to Allen to see them for the first game. And first game with T.O. sold out. I mean, awesome. That's great. They had nothing in place as far as merchandise, no ability to collect names as to who the 5,700 people are that are here, so they can contact them again about buying season tickets and coming out again. And there was nothing in place. It was just a mess. Next game, the next week, 1,000 less people showed up because he underestimated. He thought that people want to come out and see T.O. play. It was slightly right. People wanted to see if he would play. And once they saw that he would play, they're like, okay, I've seen it. And they didn't show up again. They were done. And so he offers Tommy a big contract, come be my president, get me out of this hole. And Tommy's like, yeah, but I need to bring people with me. And so we packed up on the same moving truck, moved down to Texas and took over there. And we had to, I mean, the place was on fire. I mean, it was our first game, 1,000 less people than the game before, then 1,000 less people. And all of a sudden, our third game there, we're looking at 1,500 people in the stands when they had 6,000 a month before. And so we had to figure out how to save sponsorships and how to get any group sales going and any ticket sales and try to renew people for the next year. And it was tough. And at the end of the year, he's like, I'm out. Sorry, I moved you guys here. We're done. And we're like, we're stuck here. Like, what do we do? You know, like we had two options. We could move back to Virginia and start a team. We had the opportunity to start a team in Hampton Roads. The Hampton Coliseum was like, please come. Rent-free, we'll buy a turf for you. Please come and start a team here. We're like, that's actually really attractive knowing the talent base that's there as far as players and everything. But we didn't want to move, and we thought it was easier to resurrect or revive a dying brand than start a brand new team. And so we used we won all the assets for the team for, you know, because we didn't get paid and all that kind of stuff. And we were able to get the team started. So we were able to generate revenue, and we used the first bucks we had to put a deposit on a place to get an office. And then the next few dollars that came in, we went to IKEA and got some furniture and got a free phone system set up and started making phone calls, started generating revenue, started bringing in money. And
was it just you and Tommy at that point, or did you have other people?
There was three of us. There were three of us. Well, four of us technically. There was Tommy and me, and then our other vice president was a guy named Barney Welch, who had known Tommy for 10 years or so, and his wife was the office manager. And it was just the four of us showing up every day, like trying to grind this out. And then we grew and brought in some more people and brought in some interns, and some interns stuck and some interns didn't. But, you know, one intern in particular, it is a fantastic story. He saw that there was a team, loved football, 19 years old, maybe 20. He was 20. And he wanted a job, so he sent me a text, a tweet, a Facebook message, an email, and called me all within 5 minutes of each other. And I'm like, this kid is driving me insane. Yeah. Like, fine, come in for an interview. He shows up, his hair's all a mess, his tie doesn't fit, it's all, his shirt's untucked. I mean, he was the sloppiest, messiest thing. I'm like, I need help, I need an intern. You're hired. And then he left, we're all like, that kid's not gonna make it a week in this business. And that was our first season. He was there through the championship we won 5 years later.
Wow.
He got promoted from intern to office manager to director of ticket sales. And then he left to become the general manager of a team. Like, so impressive. And then he moved down to Florida. He's in Florida now and was working for the XFL, the Tampa Bay team. In XFL.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I met him. With
John.
John, yeah. Yep, John.
Amazing kid. And I totally underestimated him to begin with because it was the worst interview ever. I mean, it was just like, like I've told him this too, like, dude, you were such a mess. And he's like, yeah, I know. I didn't sleep much the night before. And it was like, I was just a mess. And I'm like, yeah, but he grew up into this polished professional that learned how to run a team,
I met him last year. So, definitely,
but we lost money the first year. We had no money to fall back on. We were on unemployment starting a professional football team. I do not recommend that. It is
what's that?
We were on unemployment when we started that team. I don't recommend that at all. Really bad idea. But
you know what though? There's only a few people that can pull that off, and I wouldn't recommend it either. I've been on unemployment, but I've done it with no money.
Yeah,
and it's a grind, and it's hard.
Luckily we turned it around over the years, and we were able to build something pretty awesome there. And it just kind of it ran its course. I left in 2018 when the team was. I left in the middle of the season. It was just time to go, and I had to come home, and it was time to get away, with my family. But when I started that, I was single. By the time I left 5 years later, I was married with a kid. Like it was totally tough. So.
Was Pat Pimmel your head coach down there at all? Because I know he was down there.
Pat was the head coach for the Wranglers that first year there.
Gotcha.
He was TO's head coach.
Yeah. He coached with me.
I forgot about Pat.
He coached my team in St. Louis for half the season when I fired my coach. So, and he had always kind of been around there. I guess he was from there. So, but I remember him telling me he was down there.
We had some really good coaches. Our first head coach for the Revolution was Billy Back, who's still coaching. He's up in Spokane.
Billy doesn't like me, but it's all right. Well, he beat me in the championship. I want to say it was 2012.
Okay.
Florida Tarpons versus Cincinnati.
Cincinnati. We hired him right after that.
Yeah.
He won back-to-back championships, and then we hired him. And that was only a one-year thing. And we hired someone else and moved on. And then we hired the third year, we hired another coach, and he lasted 3 games, and we fired him. And then we finally found one that, stuck.
How long was Billy there for you?
1 year.
He, the championship game. So our league rules where the home team has to pay for the bus.
Of course.
So we were the home team.
You're generating revenue, of course.
Yeah, we're the home team. We were undefeated. So I say, go get bus quotes. Give me 3. And so I select the cheapest one. Why would I pick any other one, right? The damn bus breaks down in Macon, Georgia. And
we almost made it.
And so they're in Macon, Georgia. Buses broke down. Billy Back calls me up, MFing me like it's like I did it. And it was, I'll just never forget it because it was funny. We're just like, oh, I'm gonna kick your ass. No, I'm gonna kick your ass. But they got there and then they beat our ass on the field. And that was a rough one.
He is a great coach.
He's a competitor, man. I do
so
like that.
Good. He is so good.
Yeah. So. No, there's some good ones out there, but it's just indoor football is like, I don't know how to describe it, but I love it and I hate it at the same time.
Yeah.
And I wish that like when you got into it, when did you get into it? 8. So I got into it like 4 or 5 years before you. Back then, it was just so much better. And if you look at, say, the last 5 years, last 10 years, it's really just it's taken such a beating, and it's such a great game. But it's just I think I'm probably part of the reason it's gone down. I was league president, and it all comes down to ownership, right? So if I accept the wrong owner into the league, it just devalues it all. And then you got all these people thinking that they can just start their own league. And then they get all the semi-pro. Yeah, they get the semi-pro.
We don't agree with this. We want to split off. And it's just all these different leagues would pop up, and it would devalue and cheapen what we had and what was working.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think it's just got to such a point where, I don't know. I think there's some hope, but, they've got to come together and they've got to get the standards back up, but make it where the business model works. The thing I've noticed since I joined the baseball side is there's such a huge difference because of the number of games. with football, you're typically what, 7 to 10 games max in a season.
And you're heavily focused on sponsorships.
Yeah.
Whereas for
typically not
baseball,
much.
it probably swings more. I mean, 60% of your revenue in football is sponsorships, 20% is season tickets, you know, like,
Yeah.
I think it's not complete 180 for baseball,
Pretty
but
close.
it's definitely less than 50%. So I mean, the tickets has to be bigger. I mean, you have,
Yep.
well, you have dead games. I mean, no one in their, even major league teams, no one cares about Wednesday night.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Like, but if you're faced with minor league 70 home games, I mean, find your 34 best, your half your season, your Friday and Saturday nights, and kill it. And you eventually those will carry over to the weekdays, and then it will spread, you know. And but with football, I mean, you are a small business that's open for business 8 times a year. You have to have a spectacular game every game, or you're screwed. I mean,
that's what I was going to say. I mean, imagine now in Texas, you don't have to worry about it, but I was up in St. Louis and we were starting in sometimes February, March. Well, we had a home opener where it was a lot of snow.
Oh, we got iced over in Texas our second opening night.
And
I had a $4,000 halftime promotional act come out. It was Rubber Boy, the guy that comes out of the box and everything. Yeah. And like, no one showed up. We had 5,000 tickets sold, and we had 400 people in the stands because it was 30 degrees and iced over in North Texas. I mean, it was awful. He goes, I feel awful taking this money from you, so I'll come back for free later in the year. I'm like, done. Like, I'm okay. Like,
damn, that's nice. But that's the problem with the small season. I got into indoor soccer, and then it jumps up. We do a little bit more games, but I still think you need to be, for a sport to really have good financial potential, you really need that 20 to 35 games, in my opinion.
Yep.
You know, for a season, because then you have a couple that
minor league hockey is a perfect schedule, but the sport's too expensive. I mean, like
the ECHL teams, the ones I know are all losing money.
Every one of them.
And I don't know how many times I've seen
because they got to provide. I mean, the player equipment is so much more expensive than
workers' comp.
It's incredible, and they all need to make a lot of money. And like, they're on multi-million-dollar budgets. Even in, you know,
the ECHL,
the SPHL and lower leagues are still in $2 million budget range, which that's really tough to pull off in small cities. Yeah. Whereas in indoor football, I mean, in our biggest year, we were 470,000.
Yeah.
Which is doable, you know, like if you work hard enough, like you can make that, especially if you've got some bank to start with. So you're not playing catch up, you know,
and that's,
you got to, it's all about hiring the right people. It's all about, I mean, if you have the wrong people, doesn't matter how successful you are in other businesses, you're not going to be able to pull it off.
Yeah. So you ever think you'll get back into indoor football?
If the opportunity presented itself. I mean, if someone had enough, at this point, at 37 years old and 15 years in this business, I'm not going to be working for $30,000 a year anymore. So I think, I mean, I would take a job if it were offered to me, if it would be enough, you know, because I have a budget here at home with my family, and if we can make it work, we would do it. If it's a good area, you know, I have a 2-year-old autistic son, and we need him to have a lot of work and a lot of therapy and the right schooling. So I have to be somewhat picky where I'm at. We're in a good place right here. Pittsburgh's really great for autism. I wouldn't want to put him at a disadvantage because I'm chasing a dream, you know. But if a right opportunity presented itself in the right area and it was good for what he has, then I would totally do it, you know. And that's part of what led me to the whole, you know, you've looked at my, you know, resume, my LinkedIn. Like, I had this idea years ago that, like, hey, you know, like, I know how to do this. I should do this more on a contract basis. I'll bet you I could help out teams. And when you're single, you have these pipe dreams. I could totally do this. But like, a year and a half ago or so, I told my wife, like, I had this idea a long time ago that I want to try this. And we were sitting here, and I'm working on my master's degree in sports management, and one of the classes was about creating a business and all that. And I started talking to her. I'm like, what if I started my own consultant business. Like there's tons of them out there, but there's also tons of teams, you know, and if I could find 3 teams that are looking for a full-time employee, but they'd rather have someone come in and work for them for a little less hours, but get expertise of a full-time person.
Yep.
You know, if I find 3 teams to pay $3,000 a month, like I'm set, my family's set, and I don't have to leave. I don't have to take my family away, my son away from the help he's getting, you know? And so I started it. I came up with the idea. I started doing some promotional materials for myself, and then I got a job this winter, thinking, hey, I got a job. I don't need to work on my own thing anymore, you know. And then that was gone in 2 months. So you know, it was. But as I'm sitting here now with a lot more free time, and thankfully, it's given me a chance to be. You know, we had a baby in February. 2-year-old, like I can spend time at home here with them and really, you know, help them out. I'm like, you know what? It's time to see if this actually works. You know, like I'll take a full-time job if it presents itself, but maybe I need to be my own best salesman right now and find 2 or 3 teams that are like, you know what? I actually do need a little help. I know how to run a construction business. I know how to run a manufacturing business. I don't know how to run a sports business. You know what? Fine. Let me handle it. We'll do Zoom calls. I'll show up once a month to help you out, you know, but you don't have to worry about the payroll taxes, the insurance,
right?
All that kind of stuff. Let me take care of this for you. And
relocation money, anything. No,
yes, like I saved them a lot of money. You just pay me a flat fee. I'll pay the taxes at the end of the year. I don't care. You know, it's not a big deal for me.
There's so many organizations out there, and it doesn't even necessarily, I mean, even outside of like professional sports and minor league, I mean, you know, there's so many companies in sports and entertainment that do need help. And for like someone like yourself or myself, where it's like, you know, we've been in it for a good amount of time. We have a lot of experience. We hustle. So like getting one of us part-time is almost equivalent to you finding somebody full-time is the way I look at that. So
if you hired me on part-time to do that kind of thing, like you'd be getting a lot of stuff. I mean, like that, you know, it would be, but you know, I've used this time off to really kind of better myself. So I'm trying to get, you know, certified and, you know, I've done graphic design for 10 or 11 years. So I'm trying to get more certified in doing it so that I can offer really high quality graphic designing services. On top of that, I went and got certified in Google ad search and, you know, all the different Google ad platforms, because I am fully convinced that I can generate revenue for sports teams and ticket sales by boosting their online presence. You know, through social media, but also through Google, and getting pages pushed to the top. So I like, you know what, I knew this would work. And so I found a certification program, and I just started doing all the testing. And I'm like, you know what, I know how to sell Google ads now. I know how to program your website so that people are calling you, you know, like if I love hearing the stories from teams like, hey, yeah, I got this $100,000 sponsor because they just called up and said, I want to sponsor you. And I'm like, how? Like, no one's ever done that for me, you know? But like, I think it's possible.
Absolutely.
I think if you have the right advertising running, I think just like you have to hire people to generate revenue to sell tickets, you need to spend a little money, not on billboards, not on newspaper ads, not on radio ads. Trade for that crap. I mean, it's not going to generate you any money. I mean, it looks good and it's nice to show it to people, but you're not going to sell tickets because of it. But you will sell tickets by running ads on Facebook, by running ads on LinkedIn, by running ads on Google. Like that will certainly generate you revenue, and it's not much. I mean, and so I've kind of thought, not only sports teams, I could find local businesses around here.
Yeah.
That totally like, hey, I'll generate some revenue for you. You give me $500 a month to run Google ads. Like I'll bring you in a couple $1,000. Like who wouldn't trade $500 for 2,000? I mean, it's a no brainer. So
well, you got to adapt
it's there
to the situation.
And I realized that years ago, like when I think about it, we in West Texas, we operated a certain way, and it was newspapers, radio ads, billboards, you know, Facebook was still small at that point. It's 2008. I mean, I don't even think people had Facebook at that point. If they did, it was small. It might have still been students back then. I remember I got one in college in 2005, but like my parents didn't even know what it was. But when we got to Dallas 4 years later, it was completely different. Like radio ads, no one cared. Like billboards, no one cared. And we struggled the first year generating revenue because we honestly didn't know how to reach people. Like it had changed completely in 4 years in Texas.
Oh yeah.
But by the time we were done, like we knew the importance of spending money online. And our ticket guy, John, he was great at doing graphics to help us generate revenue. We had a communications guy named Cameron who would generate these videos that we could use to promote games that we used. We'd pay $100 for an ad.
Yeah.
And I guarantee we made more than $100 in ticket sales. I mean, that's 10 tickets at $10 a piece. I mean, it was, and the publicity you get for future games, it's such a no-brainer. And I don't know why more teams don't do it, but it was necessary, and it's something that needs to be done now. So it's like, if this is the way that the sports are going now, like I need to get on top of it immediately, so I needed to learn that. And so I did. I need to get better.
What's weird here is the baseball team I was with in Virginia. It's like I'm the vice president of sales for tickets and partnerships and everything. But we really never had like a meeting with the creative side. So like the way I've always done it in the past is marketing and sales needs to be kind of working together so that the marketing helps push the sales and round and round we go.
Monday morning meeting, which was supposed to be an hour long every Monday morning, and it ended up being 4 hours because we would just talk and come up with ideas. And it was, it's lunchtime already, so but it's important. I mean, if your marketing is not promoting the things that the sales team needs and the sales team is not selling the things that the marketing is promoting, then you look disjointed and unprofessional.
Yeah. It's definitely different, but I think they need to be combined. So, because there is some great, you mentioned social media. I'm a big, probably since about 2012, 13, that's when we really started getting into the social media marketing. And, I think I spent $2,000 in a season, which isn't a lot, but man, it was probably my best return.
I mean, I've always related best, the way my mind thinks as far as the numbers are concerned, and it's the way that I sell best. Because it's almost like selling a sponsorship, like how much, let's say I generate one new client for you. How much is that worth? Well, a new client's worth $5,000. Okay. So if you spend $1,000 with me and I get you 5 leads, can you close one of them? Yeah. Okay. Well, then you just made 5 times your investment. I look at a $2,000 marketing budget for Facebook, which is very small, but I see that in terms of that's 1 season ticket, maybe 2 in the cheap seats. Like if I do this, can I generate 1 lead to sell to? Like if I don't, then we're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
That should be generating a $2,000 advertising budget for Facebook should be generating 10 times that much in just season tickets alone, because that's an easy ticket sale. But I don't see it. I don't see teams doing that. I mean, some are on board, some are still behind because they don't have that person like spearheading it.
What would you say is kind of your specialty?
I like to enjoy what I'm doing. I can sell. I've sold hundreds of thousands of dollars. I hate selling. I'm an introvert at my nature. Yes. I don't like going out and talking to people, but I get better. I've grown way past that, and I can sell you anything at this point. I've always enjoyed game operations. That's where I kind of got my start. I started ticket sales, but then Tommy hired me on to do game ops and corporate fulfillment. And I loved, the reason I connected with it is because I used to go to all these Pirate games growing up because I could never afford to go to Penguins games, and Steelers games were sold out since the 70s. Never could go to them. But my family, we used to go to Pirate games all the time, and it was dirt cheap. It was $5 for the adults, $1 for the kids, and $5 for parking. We didn't have a lot growing up, but for $18, we could go to a Pirate game. My
Right.
parents could afford that multiple times.
Yeah.
And I loved being at the game, I learned early on, hey, this inning, they're going to do this. So we can look forward to this. And we're going to hear this song at this time, and we're going to look for this. And I used to look forward to that kind of stuff. And then I realized when I got to Tommy that, like, there's a script for all this, you know, like, and I can plan out, you know, so like I loved it. And I had been to so many Pirate games that when I was writing my first script in Odessa, I was taking lines the PA guy would say that I remembered from when I was 10 years old and working it in. And I mean, I have scripts on my computer from 10 years of doing it, and there's still lines in there that I stole from the Pirates in the 80s because I remember hearing them, you know? And I always loved doing that, and it always made me feel like I was at home because I'm like, oh, that line. I remember that. But planning halftime out and working with the DJ and the video board and planning out games, because I always took it as a personal thing that if I can do my job well, people are going to enjoy the game, like we talked about. They don't care what the score is, but if they're having fun, they'll come back. And so I always took it kind of personally that, like, you know what, our staff worked really hard to bring in these people. But they're not going to come back unless I do my job well. And so I took it very seriously, and I loved every second of it. Like even when I was the team president for 5 years, I was still down on the field with the headphones on. I slowly gave away that ability because I knew I needed to be in the stands shaking hands and everything. But I still went down and ran halftime every single game. I was like, I'm not letting halftime get messed up by anyone. I don't trust anyone other than myself. And I had the best, like, red hat. He was awesome. He was awesome. And I still wouldn't let him do halftime. Like, I would go down there in my suit, throw on the headset and run halftime. And then, like, okay, go, I'm going, you know, and he would take me to the rest. But, like, I could not give that up. Like, it was just fun for me, you know? That's where I really enjoyed myself. But yeah, I mean, when you're the president though, like I became
do everything. Yeah.
Game ops. I know how to run every ticket service known to man. I know how to program a website. I know how to do social media. I can do your corporate fulfillment. I can sell corporate and tickets. I even, you know, we had our office manager quit halfway through the year. I taught myself QuickBooks, and I became an accounting professional, and I learned how to do our books until we hired someone else. Yep.
So what, you got a website for your consulting?
I do. So the name of the company is Escon Consulting. Escon is ESCON, and it's esconsports.com.
Okay.
So yeah, Escon is essentially short for sports consulting. So I just kind of spelled it out, Escon, ESCON sports.com, and got the website launched and hoping to find some teams that want to get a jump start on 2021.
Well, we'll help promote it out there to our network, and you know, hope to get you back out there in the field soon. You know,
I can tell you, someone's going to get a pretty good employee when they bring me on. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and you get my whole family too because they're chomping at the bit to get me out of the house a little bit. So.
Just get rid of him, please. No, I'll add your website on there too, so people can check it out. And
awesome.
Let's keep in touch, man. I want to see where you land.
Of course, you too.
So thanks again.
Yep, you got it.